The National Organization for Women, or NOW, is a feminist organization for women. It fights for equal rights for women and it has about 500,000 members. It is the biggest feminist group in the U.S. and was founded and run by Betty Friedan, who served as NOW's first president. It was created on June 30th, 1966. The organization is spread out into all 50 U.S. states, and headquarters are located in Washington, D.C. NOW's goal was to get more rights for women so they could be equal to men and to eliminate discrimination. They wanted to achieve and protect the equal rights of all women and girls in all aspects of social, political, and economic life. Around the time NOW was founded, women were facing a lot of sexism. They were expected to stay at home and take care of the house and family, but couldn't work. Men were the only ones really allowed and responsible for all of the work that had to be done outside of the house. Women were tired of being put in the dark, so a couple of them got together and created the National Organization for Women. In the early years of the women's rights movement, their plan consisted of much more than just the right to vote. Their goals included education and employment, equality within marriage, and a married woman's right to her own property, custody over her children, and control over her own body. Today, women have many more rights than what they had 50 years ago, but sexism still exists.
Betty Friedan was an American writer, activist, feminist, and founder of the National Organization for Women, NOW. Betty Friedan's book, The Feminine Mystique, along with the growing influence of NOW, gives rise to the important American feminist movement, which helps destroy the male-dominated stereotypes of women in the workforce and bridges the gap of equality.
Our topic integrates with the History Fair theme, debate and diplomacy, because back in the 60s, women were very isolated when it came to their rights. Women weren't meant to do many things like voting. Then the National Organization for Women helped women have more of a role in the world.
Our project will prove how this organization was a good idea and helped women become more noticed, but some will disagree. Others think that women should not have the right to vote, not have a higher education, equal pay, or have job opportunities. People think that only men should have those rights.
When NOW was created, many people, especially men, thought it was a bad idea and that women belong in the kitchen, caring for the house and family. But over time, women have gotten more and more rights.
In 1972, the Equal Rights Amendment was passed. The Equal Rights Amendment is an amendment giving equal legal rights to all Americans, despite their gender. People negotiated, and the National Organization for Women, NOW, promoted equal rights for women. Now women have the right to vote, almost have equal pay, and have many more job opportunities.
The sources we used as evidence were an interview with Betty Friedan, the founder of the National Organization for Women, in 1977, and an article about Betty Friedan and her book, The Feminine Mystique. Betty says in her interview, if there's anything that my work is a bit about, the feminine mystique and the way it's changed all our lives to call ourselves people, we shouldn't have to make these choices anymore. We shouldn't have to choose between profession and career and love, motherhood, marriage. She says,
we had to create ourselves as women. We had to create ourselves as new women. That's what all this was about.
Betty talks about all that she went through in the interview and how people were angry at her for standing up for herself and all the other women out there. Some people felt threatened by her and what she did. Many women's and men's lives were changed completely when NOW was created.
Betty's book, The Feminine Mystique, turned out to be a bestseller in the United States. Back then, people never thought that women would be able to write such a famous novel. The article states that, with her book, The Feminine Mystique, Betty Friedan broke new ground by exploring the idea of women finding personal fulfillment outside of their traditional roles. Betty Friedan was fired from her job when she was pregnant with her second child. She was always at home, so she started to feel on edge and apprehensive from being cooped up at home. She then started to wonder if other women felt the same. So she surveyed many women that were also trapped in the house. And after seeing her results, she started writing The Feminine Mystique.
The source we used as evidence was a tweet from a National Organization for Women on Twitter. It stated, "It's disheartening to hear that the U.S. wants to advocate or comment about other countries and how they treat women, but yet here we are trying to control a person's decision about their own reproductive care and access," says Now's News. We have to think deeper about how we're looking at as a country. Now is trying to get people to work together in order to get equal rights for everyone, no matter what gender you are. But people disagree with each other and argue about what they think. Not everyone agrees with what the organization is trying to do. Some people do think it is a good idea to come together to get equal rights, and some people don't.
There will never be a time when everyone in the world agrees on one thing. People have to expect that others will not like their opinions and what they have to say. And the National Organization for Women has had a lot of experience over the years with others disagreeing with them. Women have been looked down upon for years, and like the quote says, the U.S. is critiquing other countries' way of treating women. But the U.S. has flaws on the way they treat women as well. Sometimes people only care about how they look and what they think, when really we have to try our best to come together as a country and talk about our flaws as a whole and how we can do better towards women and our own mistakes.
A source we used as evidence was an article about the publication of The Feminine Mystique from the Jewish Women's Archive organization. It states, a survey she conducted of her Smith College classmates indicated that many felt depressed even though they supposedly enjoyed ideal lives with husbands, homes, and children. Enlarging her inquiry, Frieden found that what she called the problem that has no name was common among women far beyond the educated East Coast elite. In The Feminine Mystique, she showed how women's magazines, advertising, Frieden, psychologists, and educators reflected and perpetuated a domestic ideal that left many women deeply unhappy.
In suppressing women's personal growth, Frieden argued, society lost a vast reservoir of human potential. Her survey proved that people weren't happy being off to the side. It gave her a reason to start fighting for women's rights. They still got to do house chores, but it was not enough in women's eyes. They wanted to go out into the world and do what they've always wanted. Frieden called this issue a problem with no name because no one was addressing it. Not many really saw how big it was. The world around women was made for men. They were watching men become successful and do things they couldn't right in front of them. Betty Frieden's book proved this for them.
Betty Friedan was an American writer, activist, feminist, and founder of National Organization for Women, or NOW. Betty Friedan's book, The Feminine Mystique, along with the growing influence of NOW, gives rise to the important American feminist movement, which helps destroy male-dominated stereotypes of women in the workforce and bridges the gap of equality.
Our thesis was proven correct, and the evidence that proves that is a survey from Pew Research Center. It shows that about 4 in 10 women say that feminism has helped them personally. To conclude our project, the National Organization for Women, NOW, impacted many lives, and women finally have the rights they deserve.